What's up everyone? Hope you're all staying safe and healthy during this quarantine and not making any drastic decisions. And since I'm quarantined, as I hope that all of you guys should be doing too, I have a lot of time on my hands, and with all that time, I've been watching a lot of movies. And the other day, I was scrolling through Amazon Prime and I found this one movie called The Velocipastor. And like any normal person, I just had to think, what is the Velocipastor? So I clicked onto the description of what the Velocipastor was, and this is exactly what it said. After losing his parents, a priest travels to China where he inherits a mysterious ability that allows him to turn into a dinosaur. At first horrified by this new power, a prostitute convinces him to use it to fight crime. And ninjas. With that description alone, I knew I just had to see this movie, or maybe it's just the quarantine driving me crazy. I don't know. And so I watched the movie, and by no means was this description false at all. Everything a promise it gave me. I don't want to get into any spoilers, so let's just get into it. So the movie opens up with a title card saying that this movie is rated X, a rating system that hasn't been used in 30 years. And it turns out that this movie was rated by an all-Christian jury. You know, as all movies are. So we open up to Pastor Doug, who's clearly doing a sermon to an empty church, and he's thrilled to find his parents across the street standing awkwardly next to a car. I mean, this day seems so lovely that nothing could possibly go wrong. So we hear the car blow off screen and have Doug cry over his parents. But we aren't too sure what happened, because when we cut back to the explosion, we are given, I'm not joking about this, the text VFX car on fire. I guess the movie didn't prepare a good enough budget to have the money to create a car on fire if they wanted this in the movie. And while Doug is mourning the loss of his parents, he is now comforted by Father Stewart, and it's probably what is the worst pep talk of all time.
So your parents died, Doug. It's what parents do. They die on you.
It's what parents do. They die on you. Just imagine having this guy as a dad. Dad, you're gonna live forever, right? Well, son, here's the thing. I'm a parent, which means one day I'll die. That's just what I'll do. I'll die on you. What? So while Doug starts to awkwardly question his faith,
I'm starting to question my faith.
Stuart recommends that he travels to a place where God does not follow. So Doug gets in his car and travels to the woods. But these aren't just any woods, because these are the woods of China. China, the place where God does not go to. And no, this is definitely not some backyard that they're just pretending that's China.
China.
But what Doug doesn't know is that in this exact same woods, there's a ninja with a bow and arrow who's trying to chase this girl. Because if history taught me anything, is that China is known for their ninjas. Ninjas who know how to do archery. As the girl then gets shot while Doug is finally learning his directions.
China is east.
Oh my god!
Are you hurt?
She gives to Doug what I believe is the tooth of a velociraptor. Because, of course. And then Doug cuts his hand, and is what I can assume that the tooth then melds with his blood. It's never really explained what this thing is and what it does or what happens, but without it, we wouldn't get the Velocipastor, so I'm not complaining. Doug then wakes up back home after somehow making it back from China, where he is then comforted by Stuart, who gives Doug the most awkward hug of all time.
Bye.
And that's saying something. Doug then starts to, I guess, feel hungry, so then he just screams hungry.
Hungry.
Runs out to the street in a tank top. And then on the street, Doug bumps into Carol the hooker, who has a pimp who doesn't know how to bitch slap someone.
Carol.
But single-handedly, this guy has one of the greatest names of all time for one of the greatest reasons.
Now what's my name?
Frankie Mermaid.
And why is my name Frankie Mermaid?
Cause you're swimming in bitches.
You goddamn right!
Frankie Mermaid, cause he's swimming in bitches. Frankie Mermaid then sends Carol into the woods and then gives us an over-and-top laugh. This is one thing that the movie does deliver on, is that it consistently gives us ingenuine, over-the-top laughter. It's now nighttime, as Doug, I guess, just spent all day running around the woods in what I could have been confused for China. And in the woods, he finds Carol being robbed because the woods is an obvious place to rob someone in the middle of the night. And then Doug turns into Doug the dinosaur and eats and kills the robber, which turns on Carol immediately. next morning, Doug wakes up to find Carol, who tells him that last night he ate a person, and what Doug gives is probably the most realistic reaction ever to hearing that.
What? What?
And of course, Doug doesn't believe her because, you know, evolution.
I don't believe you. Dinosaurs never existed.
So Carol decides to take him to the body, but since Doug doesn't have any clothes, he decides to wear something that probably Velma from Scooby-Doo would wear. They find the body that the production obviously didn't have because we never actually see the body, and Doug is so angry that he swats a branch and reveals the true reason for why he's so mad right now.
You're a hooker?
And pre-med law, but people aren't surprised as much by that one.
Sir, you are a priest and you killed a man and you're mad she's a hooker? Carol then comes up with a plan for Doug to use his power to kill bad people, but Doug doesn't like it, so he storms off and swats another branch. Back at the church, Doug runs to a confession in clearly what was not his outfit that he had in the woods, and Doug's first confession of the day is none other than the one, the only, Frankie Mermaid, who is living his best life.
Listen, Padre. Frankie fucking Mermaid smokes where the fuck he wants because his life is on fire.
And you can just tell that this guy's horrible because he's smoking weed, he steals candy from babies,
Stole candy from this baby.
he throws babies into rivers,
Then I threw the baby in the river.
but he does probably give us one of the biggest reveals of the whole movie.
Actually, a couple months ago, this fucking old couple, I blew up their car. Actually, it was right in front of this church.
That's right, Frankie Mermaid was the one who killed Doug's parents. And now Doug is so traumatized as he starts to orgasm just thinking about Frankie Mermaid being there during the death of his parents, so he turns into a velociraptor and kills Frankie Mermaid. The thing is, only Doug's hand turns into a velociraptor, but none of the rest of his body does, and doesn't really make any sense, but it's apparently important to the plot. The thing is, I really respect Frankie Mermaid for going to confession. He is a horrible guy, but he still goes to confession. I have a lot of respect for that. So Doug then goes to Carol to say that he is officially on board to kill bad people, and just after an overlong staring contest, it's montage time. We're finally introduced to the big bad guy of the movie, Wee Chan, as the head drug-dealing ninja, and one of my favorite things is that Wee Chan's sidekick is this white ninja, and the two of them communicate in their own different languages, but they understand what the other one's saying, but for some reason they just don't say the same language.
It's hard to say, sir.
And they plan to kill Doug, who they call the Dragon Warrior, because they're afraid that he's gonna stop this group from selling drugs, but Doug doesn't know who this group is, but they still want to kill him because, you know, movie. And then we are gifted with another scene of fantastic laughter. And back at the church, Stuart finds Doug talking to Carol, and since Stuart thinks that Doug's being corrupted by her, he tries to go talking to her while Doug is reading this book called Crime 2. Crime 2, as if there's a Crime 1 book? And after Doug tells Stuart that he can turn into a dinosaur,
That's impossible.
Doug then remembers his parents.
I had parents once.
As you know, we all did have parents once. And then we're introduced to a flashback of Doug's happy family that's, you've guessed it, laughing. Just imagine living with this family. Hey guys, what's for breakfast this morning? I didn't say anything funny.
really think it's for you?
I just love this heavenly
I
music.
think I can do good, Dad. The most good possible.
Why don't you hop on out? Your mom and I will take a drive. We'll pick you up after priest college.
He goes to priest college, if that's a thing. And then of course the family hugs awkwardly, as all families do. And to make sure that Doug doesn't turn into a dinosaur ever again, Stuart takes him to an exorcist. But this whole scene is interrupted to a war flashback from Stuart, but we don't know what war this is.
She's a babe.
I didn't know they wore jeans in the war. And then to add to Stuart's backstory, find out that his loved one came to visit him during the war during, I don't know, bring your loved one to work day?
Adeline! James! Adeline!
And she steps on a landmine and dies. Back at the exorcism, things go wrong as Doug turns his hand to a velociraptor and rips Stuart's eye out. Doug then runs away, and the exorcist, of course, starts to laugh. We find Doug then runs into the woods where he is confronted by a lot of Chinese ninjas, and then one of the ninjas starts to talk about one of his loved ones from back home.
광주에서는 우리가 그때는 내가 그녀를.
We don't know who this ninja is. We don't care. Move on. The ninjas then attack Doug the dinosaur, but we don't really know what happens because the scene just kind of ends. And the Carol comes back to her house to find Doug in her room hiding under a bunch of newspapers, because the obvious, normal place to hide is under a bunch of newspapers.
Carol?
Doug!
And then with the rush of death and killing, things get so heated, Doug and Carol start to get dirty. They left the window open. This guy is being chased by Chinese ninjas. You should know better. I like that Carol just knows how to fight. And she knows the superhero landing. Nice. So Stuart wakes up and finds out that he's been kidnapped by Wee-chan and is killed immediately, but don't worry, because we got some more laughter. One thing that actually bothers me in this movie is that there is a scene that the filmmakers obviously forgot to film here.
Good thing that ninja told us where the hideout was before he died.
No ninja told Doug where the hideout was. They actually had to record him say this line and express it in the movie as it was one of his thoughts. This never happened. So thanks to the scene that never actually happened, Doug and Carol travel to the ninja's hideout, and this is where shit starts to get real.
Still don't recognize me.
Wait. That voice.
Remember me now? Brother!
That's right, the white ninja is actually Doug's brother. This whole time during all the family flashbacks, the brother was there the whole time. And of course, we're given more laughter. Perfect. Doug and Carol then fight the ninjas with some superb acting that ends with Doug stabbing his brother and spraying him on the face with Kool-Aid. Carol gets killed, and for some reason the ninjas that just killed her are crying over her death, and Doug gets so angry that, ladies and gentlemen, we're finally introduced to the Velocipastor.
You're lying!
I like how the actor's head in the costume makes the dinosaur look like he just has a hunchback. So then Doug gets shot with an arrow in the leg by Wee-chan, which turned him back into a human because, you know, reasons. And just when you think it's all over for Doug, Doug surprises us one last time with his hand that turns into a velociraptor hand.
I think my hand is immune.
I told you that was gonna be important in the movie. And then Doug rips off the head of Wee-chan. Yes, that totally looks realistic. And just like all meaningful movies, we then end on a freeze frame with a quote by Gandhi. And just when you think it was all over, it's not, because the movie gives us one last twist. Carol's alive.
We did it. Are you okay?
I'm fine.
I didn't edit that. That's actually in the movie. Now that Carol's magically re-healed, the two of them get together, drive off into the distance, and live happily ever after. The end. And that's the Velocipastor. God bless this movie. It is incredible. This is by no means a good movie. It is an enjoyable movie that is bad, and I don't know where the intention of the badness ends and the unintentional badness begins. But that's also the charm in this movie. If there was a sequel for this movie, I would definitely watch it, but the movie itself, I can't rate it. The rating's undefined. If you have time on your hands, which you probably do because you should be quarantined, this movie, The Velocipastor, it's on Amazon Prime. It's less than 70 minutes long. Why not? So that's the Velocipastor. What do you guys think? Have you seen this movie? Have you not seen the movie? Whatever you think, put the comments below and maybe I'll read it, maybe I won't. Thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't, click my last video right over here. And I know I said I probably wasn't gonna make another video, but you know, quarantine happens. Here's another video. Who knows if I'm gonna make another video, so if I do, you can watch it right over here. Thank you as always for watching, and hope to see you next time.